So I wasn't looking for another Strat or another Novo per se, but sometimes a guitar has a way of finding you. I saw this NOVO IDRIS hanging in the window at the B string in North Carolina, and I had one of those, how much is that doggy in the window moments. So I walked into the shop and started chatting with the owner, Mike, about the guitar, who quite matter-of-factly said, "Sounds like a Strat." So I plugged it in and had a go on it. And I can attest, the guitar also sounded like a Strat to me, albeit a really great sounding Strat. But is there room in the market for yet another S-type guitar? And what was it about this particular Novo that compelled me to bring it home? Let's find out. And so in this video, I will do a review of the NOVO IDRIS. I'll do several sound comparisons, as well as talk about the specs of the guitar. I'll share some pros and cons to consider if you're in the market for a boutique S-style guitar like this. And ultimately, I'll share my perspective on where I think this guitar fits in the marketplace and why it is I brought it home. And so for my signal chain today, I'll be running two Blackface style amps in stereo. I'll be using a Bloomfield 2-rock drive along with a Blankenship Twimplex. Both amps are set clean, and I'll note which gain pedals I'm using along the way. Both amps are going into Shure reactive loads with Friedman 4x12 cab impulse responses, along with a touch of stereo delay from a Keeley Halo on occasion. So the IDRIS comes equipped with Fralin Vintage Hot pickups. They're voiced like 60s style Strat pickups. The neck and middle are wound at around 6K. The bridge is a little hotter at 6.6K. So let's check out some clean tones starting out in position 4. So I find that those classic glass-like Strat clean tones are there in spades with this Novo. And I think that has a lot to do with the resonance of this guitar. It's made out of a tempered pine body that's extremely lightweight and resonant. This guitar is coming in at around 7.2 pounds, and it's the loudest guitar I own acoustically. It just rings out, and you can feel the whole body vibrating in your hands and against your ribcage and against your leg when you strum it. Very inspiring, and I think that's a hallmark of all the Novo guitars that I've tried. And so the guitar is finished in a very thin nitrocellulose lacquer, and it's lightly distressed. You can see some very minimal lacquer checking, as well as some very slight dinging. It's very tastefully done and gives the guitar a little bit of a broken-in feel. The color on this one is Lake Como Blue. That color's discontinued. However, this looks very similar to a Lake Placid Blue, which is a color they still offer. So up next, I will switch to the neck position and channel some Hendrix-style rhythm playing. So the neck on the IDRIS is made out of tempered maple, also finished in nitro. You can see some of the finish has been worn off the back of the neck, but it's still there, so it's not raw wood. But it has a very smooth and broken-in feel. It's very comfortable. It's a medium C profile. It measures at 0.830 inches at the first fret. It has medium vintage style frets, and the frets are impeccably dressed. A bone nut, a 1.65 inch nut width. And where the neck starts to deviate from the vintage formula is with the fingerboard radius. The rosewood fingerboard starts at a 9.5 inch radius and goes up to 14 inches. So you've got a compound radius, which gives it quite a modern playability, which I really prefer. You can still get under the strings for bending comfortably, but you can really fly around up and down the neck, and there's no dead spots anywhere. So for the next sound sample, I'm going to stay in the neck position and switch over to a tube screamer and play some bluesy rhythm parts where I've got the thumb wrapped around the neck, playing the bass line on the bottom with some melodic embellishments on the top strings. IDRIS has nickel hardware. You can see that it's been slightly aged. It has a nice patina on it that matches the overall aesthetic of the guitar. The tuners are vintage style Kluson with a high gear ratio. The bridge is a man-made bridge, which is the same designer as the PRS trem system. You can see some of the similarities there between trem units. And it works flawlessly, stays in tune, and you'll see me give it a little wiggle at the end of this next sound sample, where I'll be switching into the quintessential position 2 to demonstrate some of that Strat quack. I'll be playing a more delicate part using some light overdrive with my Vemram Janray, demonstrating the full range of the neck. So a must-have feature on any Strat for me personally is to have a dedicated tone control on the bridge pickup, which can really help to tame what sometimes can be an overly bright or harsh bridge sound. And the Idris has that. So a quick walkthrough of the control layout. We have a master volume for all 3 pickups. The first tone control is a dedicated tone control for the bridge pickup, and the second tone control covers the first 2 pickups. And so for this next sound clip, I'm going to go to the bridge position. I'm going to boost my Vemram Janray with a BK Butler tube driver. I'm going to roll the tone back to about 5 on the bridge pickup to provide a nice creamy high gain lead tone. So up next, I'm going to play through all 5 pickup positions to showcase the different voices of this guitar all in one sitting. Now, one thing to point out here that's quite a love-hate with vintage single coil pickups is that they are inherently noisy, and this guitar is no exception. That's no fault of Novo, but it's an inherent design flaw of the single coil pickups is they have that 60 cycle hum. Now, Novo's partially mitigated that as the Fralin pickups have a reverse wound, reverse polarity middle position, which means in position 2 and position 4, you get hum cancellation. So you'll notice the guitar is dead quiet in those positions. However, in positions 1, 3, and 5, there's quite a bit of noise. And in the case of my studio, it's the worst case scenario. I have the maximum amount of noise the way my gear is oriented. Here's the baseline noise. But when I turn the guitar, some of the noise goes away. Not all of it, but it gets better. So just have that in mind as you listen through here. This is a worst case scenario noise situation. But as with any good Strat, noise is something you have to manage along the way. So when it comes to mitigating that noise further, I'd be curious if any of you had any luck with any different solutions. I know that certain manufacturers make noiseless single coil pickups. Reports on those is that the tone isn't as good, so it's a bit of a trade-off. I know some folks try to do a lot of different shielding to help try to mitigate some noise, but the option that intrigues me the most is the Elitch system, which provides some sort of noise cancellation coils within the back plate that you wire in. Not sure exactly how it works, but that seems to be a popular option for reducing noise while retaining the original sound of the pickups. So be curious to know if anyone's had any luck with that solution. Let me know how it's worked out. So let's hear what the Idris sounds like in the context of a mix. I'll be using my Vemram Janray boosted with my exotic Soul Driven for some melodic lead playing in my favorite pickup positions. So now that we've been through the sound samples and the specs, I'm curious to know if you think there's room in the guitar market for another S-type guitar like the NOVO IDRIS. And so I'm happy to share my perspective on this as well. I had the good fortune to try out the full NOVO lineup in their showroom in Nashville earlier this year, and I've encountered several examples out in the wild as well. And the qualities that all these guitars had in common were that they were all super loud and resonant acoustically. They all have beautiful vintage aesthetics. They have broken-in feel, yet with modern playability. And so I really think NOVO has struck the perfect balance across all these dimensions. And so when they came out with an S-type guitar in this package, it was really a no-brainer for me. And that's ultimately why I decided to take the IDRIS home. And so there are only a couple of potential drawbacks I can think of if you're in the market for one of these guitars. The first one is they don't come with a hard case. They come with a soft case, though it is a high quality mono gig bag. I personally prefer that. I find that very convenient. But if you're in the need of a hard case, due to the body dimensions of the IDRIS, it's quite large. And to my knowledge, it doesn't fit in any of the traditional hard cases available on the market. But NOVO do offer a hard case that I believe you can special order from the website if you really truly need a hard case for it. And so the only other minor drawback is that I noticed both of my NOVO guitars can take up quite a lot of space in the mix. And I think that's due to the extended low end frequency response of the tempered pine. Now, that's very easy to fix in the mix, rolling off a bit of low end, and quite expected actually when it comes to balancing out guitars. But it's just one thing to have in mind if you're going to be doing a lot of recording with your NOVO. Otherwise, it sounds amazing, and it's actually quite a lot of fun to feel that low end rumbling under your fingers when you're playing by yourself. So I'd be really curious to know what your favorite tones were and how you think the NOVO IDRIS compares to a typical Strat. And if you're interested in exploring that further, let me know, because I'd be happy to do a comparison between the IDRIS and a more traditional S-type guitar. And if you're in the market for a NOVO but not quite sure which model is right for you, I have a Series J on hand along with my IDRIS, so I'd be happy to do a comparison between these two models as well. So let me know if you have any interest in a video like that. In the meantime, take care, and I will see you in the next video.